Welcome back to Capitol Tonight, a statewide look at politics. I'm Tim Boehm. It's Wednesday. We turn to our advocates, the folks whose job it is to research the topics we talk about each and every night. Tonight, we're joined by Mitch Kokai, the conservative John Locke Foundation, and State Representative Duane Hall, a Democrat of Wake County. Good to see you both. Welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, obviously, the governor's race is still sort of dominating the headlines. We have Governor McCrory calling for a recount before the canvass is done. We have Roy Cooper declaring victory before the recount, or before, well, a potential recount is done. Are both of these folks sort of doing this presumptuously, do you think, or is this just part of the PR game?
Well, I think from Roy Cooper's standpoint, you pretty much have to say, I'm the winner and I'm moving forward, because he doesn't have a whole lot of time to get ready for a new administration if he is in fact the one who ends up winning. So he can't just sit back and wait. He's got to move forward, say, I am the winner, I'm going to act like the winner, I'm going to put together my team. And for Pat McCrory's perspective, if he thinks legitimately that there are problems that led to the result in his race, then he's right to continue to move forward and ask for another count of the votes. Now, I think folks from the outside, those who are supporters of Cooper, are saying, McCrory, you lost, give it up. The supporters of Pat McCrory are probably saying, hey, keep fighting it as long as you can.
I guess the question is, though, because what if it goes over 10,000 and he's asking for a recount? We don't even know if he's within the threshold yet.
Yeah, well, if it goes over 10,000, then the game is over for him. But if it stays within 10,000, at least he has that right to ask for it. And I think a lot of the supporters of Pat McCrory who want him to have another term would say, keep fighting, Pat, for as long as you can.
Representative Hall, does all this matter? We just wait and see?
It matters a lot to the integrity of this system, I believe. There's still 24 counties left with provisional ballots. We think we'll be very close to the 10,000. But I don't have a problem with the recount. I mean, that's McCrory's right. Again, the integrity of the system. What's really upset me are the outrageous cries of fraud. You've heard the chairman of the side say, Roy wants dead people's votes to count. That's just, it's lunacy. There were more than 9,000 North Carolinians last year over the age of 90 that cast their ballot. And then by election day, unfortunately, they passed. These are our friends, our neighbors. It's defamation, I feel, leveled at the voters more than the politicians.
Mitch, so there are some, potentially in Bladen, there are some issues, but is there an overhyped about potential fraud? I mean, we keep hearing this word systematic. There doesn't seem to be evidence of widespread systematic fraud, right?
Yeah, we haven't seen any evidence of it. I think everyone who has gone through the election process, especially since we don't have voter ID, at least has in the back of their mind that, you know, there is this possibility of fraud here and there. But I think people who are being honest about it would say that you probably don't have enough fraud that it would account for a several thousand vote difference. So I think if Pat McCrory is going to have some success, it would be in coming up with something that we have not yet seen that would show that there is more widespread fraud. I mean, there's a possibility that you have cases of fraud here and there. There's a possibility that votes have been miscounted here and there. We've seen so far in places where you've looked at the past vote counts that maybe 1 or 2 votes get miscounted one way or the other. But to make a difference of 6,000 or 7,000 votes, that's going to be a really tall hill for Pat McCrory and his team to climb.
One of the interesting things about this, if Cooper does win, as you expect that he does, is how does he, you know, nothing really changed at the legislature. The supermajorities are still there. How does he work through that?
A lot of ways. I mean, Cooper was the Senate Majority Leader when Brubaker was the Speaker of the House. So he's been there a while. He's used to working across the aisle. And I would argue that the supermajority, the effective supermajority, has changed. I mean, you look at the makeup of it now. They lost a lot of the conservative Ds that would vote with them, like Salmon, Waddell, Tyne. And in place, we have more of the urban Democrats that are more solid votes for us. As well, I just think having the threat of veto there matters. It makes a big difference, particularly in those swing districts where they know we could have to stand for election next year and the following year. I would argue, but for some of that social legislation, like HB2 particularly, they may not have lost Rob Bryan. They may not have lost Marilyn Avila, Gary Pendleton.
Although she is asking for a recount. We already know that one. There likely is going to be. I know you would tell me names on camera, or whatever, but it's lawmakers seem to be a perfect position potentially for Roy Cooper to scoop up for positions, many of which he's going to have to fill very quickly. Is there a lot going on behind the scenes of people talking and wanting to do things?
It's the constant talk, and since I am not looking for a position, I have no idea. Substantively, that's overlooked. You talk about the relationship with the legislature. But a different administration has an enormous difference. I mean, think about Diener, DEQ now. I think a Governor Cooper would have handled that Duke coal ash bill very differently. Industrial Commission, he appoints all the members there, which the way they treat injured North Carolinians, I think is going to make a big difference in the state.
Mitch, do you think Republican legislature gives Roy Cooper a chance and takes what he wants seriously?
I think it really depends a lot on how Governor Cooper, if he in fact is Governor Cooper, wants to proceed. I mean, we've seen this play before when you had Beverly Perdue as the Democratic governor and a Republican-led General Assembly. And at times, Beverly Perdue worked with the General Assembly, and at other times she picked fights with them. And I think it really depends on Roy Cooper. If he decides that, hey, I'm going to work for issues that I know I can get through the General Assembly will likely be willing to work with him. If there are times when he picks a fight, then I assume that they'll be very interested in fighting back. And then the big wild card now with the recent election is what happens if the General Assembly passes a law, Roy Cooper vetoes it, the General Assembly overturns the veto, and then someone decides to sue and takes it to a Supreme Court, which now will have a 4-3 majority of Democrats.
Well, I just hope they
big sigh.
I just hope they stop passing unconstitutional laws so we won't have as many of those issues. I mean, we spent more than $10 million defending those over the last few years. So
the leadership in the House and Senate, the Republicans have denied sort of having conversations about all this court packing and taking up the race for governor.
By the way, I didn't start that rumor.
They want to say Mitch did, but do you buy that they're not really talking about that, or do you think that's covered?
Anything I say would be guess and speculation. I've heard not firsthand from anyone. But the way I read the Constitution is you can't do that. I think everyone's jumping on board with that. The way I read it is that, yes, you can create extra seats, but then it says you have to stand for election. The fill-in vacancies is a separate part of the Constitution. I don't think it applies. I think whether or not they can will be debated as well, not just whether they'll do it.
Even if they could do it, it also would be a really tough sell to the public, because if they wanted to do it to help preserve a Republican majority, it would have to be done before the end of the year, probably when they're coming back to deal with Hurricane Matthew relief, and you would really be throwing a lot of politics into what should be a sort of bipartisan package to deal with recovery from this major hurricane.
Y'all gonna avoid political talk over Thanksgiving? Can you do it?
Over Thanksgiving we can, but we're supposed to come back special session right after that, and there's a lot of things that could be included there.
All right, well, enjoy Thanksgiving. Thank you. I'm thankful for people like you coming on the show. Thank you so much. Enjoy a quiet holiday weekend, hopefully. That's it for tonight. As always, thanks for spending some time with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow evening. In the meantime, have a great evening.